Good morning, Vande Matram. Welcome all of you. Here we are going to have a brief discussion on the materialism of modern times. That is the topic of discussion. Modern times, when we consider and discuss of the modern time, it is a relative issue. Modern, ancient, medieval. This is the man-made human creation. Thing is that materialism is there. It was there, it is here, and of course, latter period we can find its presence in the society, not only in the West but also in East. It has got its value. Of course, it has got its stable presence. We have seen. So the modern times, the presence of materialism, that is the topic of our discussion. The materialism of the modern times, that is the topic to be discussed right now. So when two things are there. One is spirit and one is matter. When we talk of the matter and the materialism, then simultaneously the term comes spirit and the spiritualism. So anyway, the force, the supreme force came down into the human and earthly atmosphere. In the process of evolution, things got matter is the end, and from matter, actually it is a thick base. From there, the evolution start in the reverse direction. Anyhow, we will find that materialism, what mother really quotes, and finally we'll try to conclude it with Sri Aurobindo's sayings, quoting a few messages from Sri Aurobindo. Anyway, it is a great opportunity for us to discuss on materialism of modern times. Of the modern times, we speak up not about the ancient times or about the medieval period. Anyway, modern times. At that time, the time of Buddha, Sri Aurobindo goes back to a long distance. The time of Buddha. To live a spiritual life was a joy. That time people felt when when really you feel pleasure. Suppose you are acquainted with the traditional life, old life. You are putting on the old cloth. You are entertained with the old food. Something new comes. You are getting a new coat to put on, new life to live in, new food to take. So then you will find some pleasure. Here, the live a spiritual joy during the period time of Buddha. It was a joy because before that, almost spiritualism, the term was a vague concept. It was a vague term. Almost it was a dead position because three things we are coming to the picture to our view. One is your ordinary life you can see, and sometimes in the ordinary life you can find morality. And this is so full of ego. Sometimes you in ordinary life you can find some morality. Then after morality comes the second phase and the second position, that is religion. And after crossing religion only, the next layer is spiritualism. So still, my mother goes back, slides back to the original period of Buddha, when to live a spiritual life was a joy. Not so many was acquainted with that life, but it came to the fore. To live that life was a joy. Of course, initially there was very much a greater attraction, greater fascination to live a spiritual life. It is a joyous, a beatitude, and the happiest state, which freed you from the troubles of the world. When Mother Course, it freed you from the troubles of the world before Buddha. Of course, it is also here you can find the world is a troublesome world, a dangerous world, struggling world. It is a precarious world. Anything can happen anytime you can imagine. Friends ready to stab you, unknown enemies are awaiting on the path. You can find anything. It was there, it is here, and of course, unless otherwise, that consciousness is entirely changed. That entire change of consciousness, as long as it is happening for everybody, there will be troubles you can find. Another course from the all troubles, freed from the all troubles of the world. There were troubles, and to get rid of troubles, we are making some patch up. just some connections so that we can get rid of those troubles. That is very much prominent in our day-to-day life. So we make a patch up. We try to make a compromise. We just want to go for the next scenario with our ordinary thought process like this. But thing is that this thought process it got changed. चेंज इज द प्रोसेस बदलना ही तो हुए बदलना ही तो होगा ये कब तक इसी पुराना ज़माना को पकड़ के रहोगे कब तक इधर रहना इसलिए नहीं यू हैव टू चेंज बदलना ही होगा so for that actually the spiritual life and not only spiritual life to live the spiritual life was a joy a beatitude and a happy state these three things mother quotes three things it was a joy a beatitude and the happy state these three things came into picture that you have seen to to free you from all troubles of the world suffering and all the cares making you happy satisfied and of course contented. Three. You can find in single sentence. You can find something. 9 great things have been told by mother. Of course, you can understand. You will be very much conscious while understanding and quoting Sri Aurobindo and mother. Mother is very much open in her words. I will try to quote it again. We'll try to understand it clearly in the time that at that time the time of Buddha very much clear there is nothing no ambiguity it is going we are racing backward to the time of Buddha to live the spiritual life time of Buddha live the spiritual life great aspects and was a joy beatitude and happy state three things to live the spiritual life was a joy beatitude and happy state then which this spiritual life which freed you from the troubles of the world and the second all suffering and from troubles freed you from the troubles of the world and all sufferings all the cares so this has happened and finally with it came it prepared brought joy beatitude and happy state took out troubles of the world, suffering and cares, then what it made? It making you happy, satisfied and contented. That was the blessings of the spiritual life. When it began, when it sprouted, it was just at the beginning that happened your mother course. Later, in the it is the materialism of modern times that has turned spiritual effort into hard struggle things were initially it was not there ordinary state of mind nothing was there either hardly religious then no problem when in the ancient time in the time of a Buddha when spiritualism came it brought one absolute change in your consciousness something was a change life change style change but it was not that much prominent because materialism came into view and it spoiled all these things mother that's what mother quotes it is the materialism of modern times not of the she's not talking of the buddhic period but of modern times people get mad with the materialism this materialism has turned spiritual effort into a hard struggle nobody is interested even sometimes you can find in your own eyes some efforts are made some people were trying to turn themselves into spiritual life something was a little bit interesting but the thing is that later you can find this spiritual life has been turned against into the struggle sacrifice and the painful renunciation of all so-called joy of life joy of life has been renounced sacrifice, painful renunciation, struggle. Again, three. And I will try to quote it again, just try to understand. The materialism of modern times, it has changed the structure of this Buddhist period, philosophy of arrival of the spiritual life and the living of the spiritual life. So this brought into hard struggle, sacrifice and painful renunciation of so-called joy of life. This joy of life has been turned into the bare contrary, bare opposite, something like a struggle, sacrifice, and painful renunciation of all. The so-called as the joy of life. Then mother goes forward little bit ahead, like this. Initially, you were something, you did not know something, it was good. Then spiritual life started. Then once again you are turning back. This insistence of exclusive reality of physical world, exclusive reality of physical world, physical pleasure, physical joy, physical possession is the result of whole materialistic tendency of human civilization. What the man host, you can remember. Number one is physical world. Number two is physical pleasure. Number three is physical joy. Number four is physical, possession. So these are the things. These are the things they come on the way and the materialistic human civilization. So for that, actually these way became the instance of exclusive reality, like physical world, physical pleasures, physical joys, physical possession. This is the result of whole materialistic tendency of the human civilization. It was unthinkable in ancient time. That's what already I have quoted. In the ancient time, people were good because they were not thinking of this materialistic life, spiritual life, physical pleasure. They were not at all interested. Something that sprouted, it actually the curve went up. Then immediately you find that there is a drastic change in consciousness and a drastic failure. It was unthinkable in the ancient time. On the contrary, withdrawal, concentration, liberation from all the material cares, consecration to the spiritual joy. That was happiness indeed in the ancient times. Great thing you can find great things, really great times. Something was there that is praiseworthy, that is noteworthy. Something it was unthinkable in the ancient times. But on the contrary, what they are in the ancient time, on the contrary, withdrawal, concentration, liberation from the material cares, consecration to the spiritual life was the happiness indeed in the ancient time. Then in between spiritual life, living the spiritual life, it came to the existence. So then after that, there is a heavy decay. Heavy decay, you can find that was the period we can quote. That's what we see really. Then what happens, mother quotes, and how she tries to come to the conclusion. From this point of view, it is quite evident that humanity is far from having progressed. Far from having progressed, not at all. We feel so. Ancient time, it was good. In between, they tried to swelled up in spiritual pleasure, spiritual joy, spiritual life. Then there is a decay, drastic failure. So far from progressed, and those who were born into the world in the center of materialistic civilization have in their subconscient, in their subconscient this trouble notion in that material realities are real, and that to the concerned with the things that are not materialistic. Material represents the wonderful spirit of sacrifice and inmost sublime or effort. So, what people thought initially it was good, in between they sprouted, then there is a decay. So, people who have taken birth in this time, in their subconscient means something, nothing is wholly dead that one suddenly. Something like a sleeping, Supta Agneyagiri. So, like this, you can find volcano. It is sleeping. Anytime it can sprout, it can bring havoc, it can destroy. Like this, wonderful spirit of sacrifice. Not material represents wonderful spirit of sacrifice, that joy, that pleasure, that consecration, everything is gone. Not to be preoccupied with the dawn to dusk, not to be preoccupied from the dawn to dusk, from morning to eve, and from dusk to dawn, from evening to the morning, with all the little physical satisfaction, physical pleasure, and physical sensations and physical preoccupations. Like this, mother quotes four things. Again, physical, four quotes are there. So, not to be preoccupied from the morn to dusk, from dusk to morn, round the clock. Round the clock, running round the clock, people are not interested to run down for the physical little dusk with all the little physical satisfaction. Whatever you do, whatever you achieve, wherever you go, wherever you roam, Mother quotes it, it is a little means you can, mother's quoting little means you can understand what she really wants to tell you. Preoccupied with the dawn to dusk and dusk to dawn, with the little physical satisfaction, physical pleasure, third physical sensations, fourth physical preoccupations. It is to bear evidence of a remarkable spirit. People are not interested, they are kept contented, they are giving something, some freedom was to come, but thing is that this is, they have been occupied, they don't get the way, they don't get the path how to cross over really, how to really turn their table down, turn their table, it is gone, now they want to turn their table up, but they don't get the really what is the scenario, what is the position, what is the present percept, what is the way, they don't get it actually. So Sri Aurobindo tries to conclude within a couple of lines. We can, matter is nothing but power and a degree of the spirit. If we can understand power and the degree of the spirit, if we can understand all these things, this concept, things may try to change amicably, steadfastly in our mentality, in our ideas. That is what it is going to happen. It is, and of course it is happening. This is what the real way, the real process. A matter and a spirit now hid in the matter, concealed. So matter shall look out through, spirit shall look out through the matter's gaze, and matter shall reveal the spirit's face. Then only something will chance, there will come, man and superman shall be what one, all nature shall be a single plan. So where is it? Spirit, it is concealed inside the matter. So matter has to reveal it, and the spirit has to look out through matter's case. That is what to happen. That is Spirit Sri Aurobindo's yoga. Matter is the apparent beginning of the evolution, and it is not the end. You are going back in the process of evolution towards the spirit. Matter is but a form of consciousness. Mother quotes finally, Mother's Sri Aurobindo's advice is that reject not the body of God, O God lover. Reject not the body of God, O God lover, but keep it for the joy, for the body to be too is keep for the joy. For his body too is the delight, even as the spirit. His body is delightful, even as his spirit, because everything is, the world is got fulfilled in outwardness. Matter is the spirits are reality. Spirit is their spirits admirable reality. So if matter, we can't neglect matter. That is a base. It has to be transformed. Material form is only the support and means for the progressive manifestation of the spirit. It has to be open. It has to be a base for the progressive manifestation of the spirit. So we must come from the material consciousness, material bondage of materialism, and we must try to go in quest of the spirit. That is the call of the integral yogic process. Vande Mataram.